record button. All right, everybody, welcome to Applying Somatic Voicework with Unique Vocal Demographics. We are super excited to get today going. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of Zoom. My name is Billy. I'm the one who's been emailing you. So at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the chat button. I'm just going to type hello in the chat. If you have any questions over the course of tonight, please put them in the chat. I will keep track of the questions, and at the Q&A at the end, we will go over the questions. So just as they come up, put them there. We just ask that you don't use the chat for anything except for questions, just because it can be a little bit distracting for some participants, and we also don't want to make sure that it's being filled with observations, because Jeannie will share those with us. If at any point in the time Jeannie asks for people to raise their hand to talk, which she may do, she may not do, you'll click participants at the bottom of the screen, and then you'll see a button that says raise hand, and that's how you raise your hand there. But I will pass it on to Jeannie.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you all. As we move into autumn, fall here in the northeast of the northern hemisphere, because we do have some people from far away, it's just those special days when it's not too hot and not too cold and very pretty outside. So it's like welcome back from summer vacation, kind of. How was your summer? And so I hope everybody's okay. We know we're all living with the crazy COVID virus, and I hope you're all well and your families. But we're going to have a good time over the next 4 sessions, because I'm here to remind you that we are the musicians who are magicians. They come from the same root word, and so music is magic, and all the singing that you do and that you help your students do is making the world a healed place, a better place, a happier place, a place where we can have peace and harmony amongst each other, and then that makes it more possible out in the world. So remember that your contribution to this is valuable, no matter where you are and no matter who you work with or what you do yourself. All of us contribute. And this community, the Somatic Voicework community, is as much as possible, we try to be conscious about our work and each other, and we try to all learn together and all learn from each other, so that we can continue to be open and to grow to whatever new developments show up. And we're going to make it possible for the positive new developments to show up. That's important. Now, some of you may not have gotten this, but I did ask Billy to send you a handout which I called Working with Jazz Singers. And I just want to say, I don't want to insult anyone who's a jazz singer and make it seem like I'm condescendingly saying bad things about you. I could just as easily say them about a music theater singer or a classical singer or a rock singer. It's my job to point out the tendencies that I've discovered in the various individual styles. This does not mean all singers have those things, nor does it mean that you are condemned to have them if you do. It's just a way to recognize general patterns and general tendencies because they exist. And that's just because we're human beings. One of the things that it's important to understand as you develop and you go out into the world with your art is that you don't want to ever be predictable, but you want to be recognizable. So that's a little bit of a conundrum. It's a little bit of a push-pull, because we all know that the really famous singers, 1 or 2 notes and you recognize right away, oh, that's Sinatra, oh, that's Ella Fitzgerald, oh, that's Sarah Vaughan. Right away. You don't need half a song to decide who it is. And that distinctiveness comes a lot from the voice, but also from their characteristic ways of stylizing stuff. And if you go into the instrumental world and you're familiar with it, you can hear the difference between Count Basie and Duke Ellington. They don't have the same feel when they play the piano. So we want to be able to recognize the individuality. You can usually tell in classical music, oh, that's Mozart. Even if you don't know which Mozart, you can tell it's Mozart or Puccini. Those are the things we want to cultivate in your voice so that it becomes instantly recognizable as you and not somebody else. On the other hand, you don't want to only sound the same all the time. And I have run into people who, no matter what song they sing it in their sound. Well, guess what? That's not good, because you become predictable, and then the next after that is you become boring. In acting work, one of the things that's key is if you're working, you don't want to get into what they call stock or rote gestures, meaning, this character's angry, and I always do anger this way. That's not good acting. That does not show how you are in each moment with your own expression of anger uniquely. And that's true for all the emotions. It's true for the communications. You have to be spontaneously in whatever it is you're in. So as soon as you get into, oh, every time I sing a swing song, I'm always going to sing it like this because that's my thing, then I'm going to say, well, okay, good. What else can you do? What time is it? Let's go eat dinner. You lose me, because what keeps me interested is your novelty. Like, oh, wow, I didn't expect you to do that. Or, whoa, that was an interesting way to phrase that, that particular part of the song. I do feel that people don't think enough in that way. And just within the different styles, there are different parameters, and you want to know what they are. You also want to always ask yourself, gee, have I gotten into a thing where this is like how I sing and I don't change? And then after a while, mentally you're sort of unconscious, or you're focusing all your attention on the music and the instrumental quality of your singing, but you're not paying all that much attention to your voice. You have to remember that we have something that no other instrument has. We have words. So a clarinetist doesn't have words, a flute player doesn't have words, a horn player doesn't have words, a keyboard player doesn't have words. And if you don't make use of the word itself by really thinking about how the word sounds and how it sounds in you and how it sounds in you in that song, you're really not plumbing the depths of what's available. And the really good singers will do that intuitively. You know, it's a musical response. But even those people, it's not bad to have an outside set of ears and to say, gee, you know, Mood Indigo sounds exactly like Orange Color Sky. Why? You know, and maybe they have different phrases or different musical expressions, but your voice doesn't sound different. And I think that part of developing function, vocal function, is to allow the singers to know that they have all these vocal qualities, vowel sound qualities, register qualities, and that they should use them. So if you're going to sing up here and then you're going to go down low, and you go down low and you just stay down low and then you go up again, and that's all nice and consistent in a nice mixy place. But maybe you want to go up and then you want to go down. You want to go down. Well, that's part of why you want to have all that available, because there's no substitute for that. That's a quality change. And the ability to access that is part of being expressive and also part of what makes you recognizable. Now, one of the things I have noticed, and again, please don't hold me and say everybody sings like that. No. But a lot of the young people coming out of the colleges with a degree, they have this relaxed, nice sound. It tends to be a little breathy. And they all want to sing like that because that sounds very cool. And they want to sing with no vibrato. And I say to them, yes, but if I hear that, I'm not going to know if it's you or about 8 or 9 other beautiful young people that I've heard, because you all do the same thing and sound the same. They don't like that. It's insulting. I don't mean it to be insulting. But the trap is, oh, this is my sound. You could say, this is my voice. That's okay. But when you get into this is my sound, ask yourself, why? What is this my sound? Your sound should be whatever the song is, or whatever the tempo in the song is, or whatever the key and the tempo in the song is. And all those things should be variable. A good exercise to do with your students is to pick a simple standard and do it at about 5 different keys and 5 different meters. You know, go from, blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Blue moon, I saw you standing, and then blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Then blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Because every time you change the key and you change the tempo, make it a waltz, you know, make it a jazz waltz. The person singing should adjust to that. Now, in classical music, we don't have that freedom. We can't just decide, oh, I'm going to change the key for the sake of changing the key, although in art song repertoire and a recital, you can change them a little. But you can't come into an opera and decide, oh, I don't like this key. So you, as jazz singers, you can take liberties that other styles may not get away with. And if your voice is comfortable in a fairly wide range, at least a couple octaves, you might be able to sing most songs in 2 or 3 different keys. So then how do you choose? Well, you can choose what I like. No, choose what suits the song and what you want to do with the song. And if it's a standard, you can do it a dozen different ways, and you should be able to adapt in that way, which also means that you might have to have several charts, several different kinds of lead sheets if somebody's playing for you, so that if it's a night when you don't feel so great, maybe you do it slow. Give yourself a break. Or maybe you sort of conked out today and you're going to do it as an up-tempo because that's easier, and you're going to change the key and go faster. Those are things that are part of mastery in terms of owning your instrument and owning what it does separately from, but connected to, what you do with the music, what you do with the chord structures, the arrangement, and your variations or improvs of the melody with those other ingredients. And in working with the young people in the college programs, when I ask questions like this, I get a lot of blank stare. I get, nobody home. What do you want to do with this song? And then they give me a musical answer. I say, okay, the musical stuff you want to do, we'll do. But what are you going to do with it, with your voice and with the words? And they look at me like, huh? It's like, what's my job to ask you these questions? And the ability to dissect the words in terms of the vowels is another thing they don't learn. So what is the vowel in each syllable that you sing? Not the written vowel, the sung sound. And often they don't have anything to do with each other. So if you're going to sustain something, and English is full of schwa, I always teach everybody to say, don't sing sing ah. So I sing the, and there's an ah in that. I don't sing the, because it hasn't got any resonance. It hasn't got a shape. So the same is true with some of the other vowels. If you are going to sing at, the word at, that vowel ah could be unpleasant sounding because it's not the nicest sound in the world. So if you want to modify that, you don't want to go out, we're not going to go to England, but you don't want to have to go at, because that's not very pleasant to hear. So small modifications of the vowel to make this sound a little bit more melodious are reasonable things to do from a vocal technique place. But if you don't think about it, and you don't dissect it and take it apart, you'll just do it the way you do it. And at a certain point in your own skill level, if you keep singing for 25 years, at some point you're going to run out of options. And then you're going to go back to what I said, which is going to start to sound the same. You're going to have a rote thing. Oh, this is my shtick that I do. And then if you come to me, I'm going to shake that tree and go, oh yeah? No. and I'll stand you on your head just to stand you on your head, because that inquiry is what keeps you vital, keeps you present, keeps you in the moment, and you can even surprise yourself, so that the people who are listening to you, you might realize, gee, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff I didn't know I was going to do. Great. Right? And so in order to have that, you really have to have a solid, secure technique or vocal function apparatus that you have to work on. It doesn't just happen. And the fear that people have is, oh, I'm going to sound like an opera singer, is legitimate. Because if you go to a person who says, well, I teach classically, and everybody, all my students must learn to sing classically, because that's the correct way to sing, you have to go, bye, see ya. Because there's lots of different kinds of ways to teach a classical sound, and within that, many of them don't agree. Maybe you would study with a classical singer who could help you move over to jazz. That might work. But you could just as easily study with someone who doesn't do that. And then you wasted a year or two working on stuff that actually what you want to use in your jazz isn't that. And sometimes people come and they, oh, I want to work on my sound and I want to work on my voice, and we do that. And then they never use the sound. So I'll say after a while, you know, you've been working on your chest register, and this is a low song. Where is it? Oh, well, I didn't think about that. Well, that's what you paid your money for. Or if they make that sound, sometimes for the first time in their lives in a lesson, they freak out. What's that? Oh, that's your chest voice. Oh, I don't like that. Well, yeah, it's not a finished product. Just get used to it. But I don't like it. I understand that. But just get used to it. Oh, but that's not my voice. That's not my voice. Yeah, of course that's your voice. It's coming out of your throat. But the emotional attachment is so much that, you know, it's like I said, okay, that's not your nose. Oh, you have somebody else's nose. No. You know, you don't want to get so attached egotistically to whatever you think your voice is that you cannot be malleable and make adjustments. And I'm talking to you now from my own personal experience with me. Those of you that have done these sessions with me before, you know that 7 years ago, I was having a terrible time with my middle voice, and I was diagnosed by my laryngologist as having a left vocal cord has one spot that does not any longer vibrate properly. And it causes me to have a very weak area in my voice, approximately between E above middle C and C above middle C. And sometimes I can sing around it so I don't sound too bad. Other times it doesn't do or feel like it's unrecognizable to me and sounds and feels terrible. And it's kind of a luck of the draw what I'm going to get. So I would have probably stopped singing and given up had I not known, oh, okay, so I can't make the sound that I would want to make, but I can make that other sound. I can go over there. Okay, so, and I had resources so that I could sing something, maybe not what I really ideally would choose, but that was better than throwing in the towel and going away and never singing again. So that's another reason why the variability of the machine and the way that the machine is trained, you never know when you're going to need some extra resources that you might, when you're young, not even think about once. But sometimes, if you have some section left, you could still sing something. You know, people can get cricothyroid weakness. That's head register, right? So what if that happens and your head register sort of just goes away? Well, you could still sing if you have a chest, and vice versa. A lot of people maybe would have an okay high voice, but they lose the phonation on the bottom. Well, then you could still sing in that other way. And if you did it intelligently, other people wouldn't necessarily know that you were compromising unless they had been your fans for 20 years or something. So there are all kinds of real reasons why the training process can't be substituted for the musical process. Bracket, underline. The functional process of developing control over your instrument and having it have as many capacities as voices can have will never substitute for what you're going to do over here with your improv and the music itself. Okay? And that should be part of the understanding in your training. And if your singing teacher never talks about those things, go away, because that's not what you want. Okay? And also, here in New York, all of the people who are here who have been here for a long time and working, when you start to be, not in COVID times, but regular times, you never know what kind of a gig you might get. One time you're going to sit in with somebody who wants you to sing something that's a little bit more R&B, and the next gig you get, they want you to sing something that's a little bit more atonal, modern. And if you don't have the capacity to flip around and do different material, then you don't work. So it becomes a practical thing as well. There are very, very few of us who can get away with only singing one thing and then have a career that way. No matter how wonderful that one thing is, somebody else is just as wonderful at that same thing as you, since there are 7 or 8 billion, I forget now, people on this planet, right? No matter how fabulous you are, there's at least one more person who's just as fabulous as you. And you have to remember that. In fact, if you're here in New York and you ever went to an open call at a Broadway show, I mean, you walk into a room, using myself again as an example, a whole room full of 5'2" brunettes who have a whole book full of soprano songs. And it's a little spooky, like, oh my God, there's 100 me's in this room. You don't necessarily get hired just because you've got a lot of talent and a lot of ability. There's all kinds of other factors involved. So that's kind of a nutshell of what I wrote here on your handout. If you didn't get it, you will get it. Billy will send it to you. And so I think Billy has arranged for us to have 2 people sing for us. And the first one is Leonora Helm. Right?
So Lenora, I'm going to unmute you. All right.
Hi. Okay, do I have enough light?
Okay, let me get myself here. What is this? Okay.
All right. Hi, Lenora.
Hi. Hold on, let me get some more light.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to mute myself and then I'll put Lenora's bio in the chat so everyone can read about that while Jeannie is chatting with them.
Okay.
Okay.
So, my dear, first of all, it's very nice to see you. How are you?
You too. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know you're a very experienced and highly skilled vocalist. What was in your mind to work on with me, if there is anything?
Well, let's see. I've been doing a lot of talking during the day. I've been teaching 5 days a week online for school, and I'm sorry, I'm going to change my light so you can see me better.
Ah, yeah, that's good, like that.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been teaching 5 days a week, and so by the time, I get to this time of the day and I want to work on my own things, I have a tired talker voice.
Well, a couple of questions. Do you vocalize before you start your day?
Yes, I hum first, and then I just hum, and then I will hum with my lips parted a little bit more, so that I gradually wake up my voice, but I'm not using a lot of it. And depending on what I'm working on for my own personal work, then I and I really start singing and
Okay.
doing scales. But first, I'll do, warm up things of on ah vowels, on e and oo vowels.
Okay, are you thinking when you warm up at all about registration, about voice registers?
I go in my lower register first, so that um, I know that's where I could be ghosty. I can go up high and do a lot of the singing up there, um, in my higher register, but then my lower register will just be more late to the party.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest to you that you, first of all, that you think of head register as head register and not higher register, because the function of head register on its own should make your speaking voice better. And that's
Mhm.
not just for you, it's for everybody. Um, Now, of course, if you only do that, then you can end up sounding too light and not particularly the way you would ideally want to speak. But let's see if I can do this. So if I've been singing in head register a lot, my speaking voice comes out more like this. Oh, hi, how you doing? I sound like a soprano. But if you notice, even though I'm up high, it's as clear as a bell here. And I can talk here all day long. And the function is that in the mechanism, this is less work for the throat. It's the vocal folds are doing less work here. So the more you pull yourself into that place, even if you're not going to stay here, the better. Because otherwise, when you go down into chest, if you go here and then it gets a little breathy or a little weak, and you try to strengthen that, that actually makes it harder to talk in a place where you don't get fatigued. So you have
Okay.
to allow yourself to use head, go up into head, and then, yeah, a little bit, your chest register will be late to the party. But if you are patient, you wait for the bus, it will start to come in, but it'll come in a higher and clearer position. In other words, the placement, to use the old-fashioned word, would adjust up and forward. And that's always a better place to go in terms of speech. If you go work with a speech pathologist, they're going to tell you the sound should resonate toward the front of your mouth, because that's the place where forever that's been less work for the vocal cords, for the throat. So let's do that a little bit. I
Okay.
do you have a song that you could do?
I do. Well, I have a song that I've been working on that is troubling in a couple of spots, and then I could just sing anything. That if you want a particular jazz song, I could pretty much sing whatever.
Um, well, I think I'd like to have you vocalize a little bit first, and then sing the song, and then we'll see what we want to work on in the song. So
Okay.
try deliberately think when you're vocalizing head register. Start
Okay.
thinking, so I'm still here in head.
Mm.
Right. Yep. Good. Now, when you do that, how would you describe how it feels?
Um, it feels like I want to sing louder.
Okay, well then,
I'm trying to sing soft.
you want to sing it loud. If your throat says, I need to sing it louder, go ahead and sing it louder.
Okay.
Go ahead. One more. Now, straight, sit so your body's in alignment. And then as you go higher, let your mouth open. Just a little bit. Drop your jaw as you go up. So the first time you went, it got a little stuck and it was a little flat. But then the second time, you gave it a little more oomph and you got where you had to go. So that's important because that coordination where your body's going, I got to do this louder, you have to listen to. Okay? Go on, do one more. So now I'm going to say, only this is this. So in other words, there's no substitute for you singing E this way in head register on these pitches at this volume. Okay? And if you do that enough, when you stop doing it, it's going to make a difference in how you come in the chesty side at the bottom. And in that sense, it's like, well, if you did enough sit-ups, after a while your stomach would just be strong. And you wouldn't have to think about, you know, grabbing your stomach or holding it. It would just be strong. So the way to strengthen this is to do what you just did for long enough and repetitively enough so that it becomes a little more muscle memory. And not that this is the only sound you're going to sing, but there isn't a substitute for this. And I'm talking to everybody here. Only singing in head register on an E vowel up high loud is singing in head register on an E up high loud. There's no other thing to do that's going to substitute for that. Okay? So in that, from a mechanistic standpoint, like a carburetor is a carburetor, and you can't substitute something else for the carburetor. So you got to have a carburetor if you're going to have a car, right? So you got to think that way in terms of the function. So let's do it. Let's come back down. So you were here. So you were. So sing that one again, twice. Yes. See, that also makes you breathe more, which is good. Up. They're getting better. That's good. That's good. Now, if we stay here, if we stay in this ballpark, there are variations on this function. So there's all kinds of ways that we could change the exercise, but the essence of the exercise is I'm still working on strengthening head register. We're just doing it in different ways to vary it, to make a little bit more nuance in what we're doing. But the point is that we're trying to stay in this heady place, right? So do you have a straw or a pencil or something you can use?
Yeah, right now, here I have a pencil. I could go get a straw.
No,
Would you
you don't
rather
need it.
straw? Okay.
Because what we're going to do is, if you were going to sing into it, you would need to get the straw, but this is just to stretch your tongue up. So
Okay.
when we do this, my tongue is over the straw. Okay. And I'm holding the straw, right, so that I don't want my tongue to grip the straw. I want my tongue to flop loosely over the straw.
Got it.
Now, the reason we're doing this is because the E vowel inside the mouth, the tongue is lifted and rounded in the front. And it stays behind the bottom teeth, but the body of the tongue rolls and comes forward. So that's not a movement we do very much, if at all, in speech. Yeah, it moves, but it's not going to go up and then stay there. So one of the things this is doing is lifting the back of the tongue and also helping to tilt the thyroid cartilage so you stretch and thin the vocal folds, which gives you more head register. So this is a head register strengthening exercise done in this way, not in any old way, but this way. So we're going to do. mouth in the monitor?
Yes.
Okay. Your tongue is going to want
I'm-
a little bit into your mouth. So you keep close
okay.
forward towards your lower lip. Now sit up straight and take time, take a good breath. Now when you inhale, think that your inhalation drops a little deeper into your body. You know, try to draw the breath into the lower part of the lungs. Even just that little bit of adjustment in the breathing made it easier for you to do the sound, right? I mean, sounded that it was easier anyway. Okay. Now, does that feel uncomfortable at all?
No.
No, doesn't.
No, it feels good.
It sounds good and it doesn't look like you're straining. So let's try to do two more. But make sure you take
Okay.
time and take a pretty deep breath. Nice. One more. Those are good. Okay. Now, that is a sustained stretch. So again, to go back to relate it to other parts of the body. Let's say you were at a dance class and you put your leg on the bar, ballet bar, and you bent over and you stretched your leg. And you kind of stayed there and you breathed, so forth, and you were stretching. But you were just staying in that stretch. Or a yoga position, you're just staying in there and you're breathing into it and you're stretching. After those kinds of exercises are over, it's useful to wiggle, to move, shake it out, shake it loose. And so for us, the equivalent of that, since we've worked with the tongue, is to bounce the tongue around. So this is where I do glogle or glegla or glockada glockada. And I wanted to clarify something which Michelle Rosen pointed out to me last week, which I never think about. But the L sound that you do in the front here, la 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 la, is different than if you do la la la. And this, my tongue, la la, is not really going la 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 a lot. It's kind of sitting at the bottom. It moves less that way, so that the L is actually coming from the movement of the jaw, la 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 la, and not la la. And the one that I'm doing is actually more about the back than the front. Since the front is busy doing la 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 la, the back can do nothing, and the exercise doesn't work well. So when you do this, glog, 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 think about the back. Glog, glogle, 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 glogle.
Glogle, 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 glogle.
Now start your bottom gla lighter, still in head register. Glogle.
Glogle. Glogle, 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 glogle.
Oh, that's just for exercise. It's not, you're going to not sing that way, but that's just to exercise for the moment.
Glogle, 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 glogle.
One more.
Glogle, 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 glogle.
Now let's do ah eh with your head up. Now you have to watch me. Ah eh, ah eh, ah eh, ah eh, ah eh. Now my jaw's not moving at all here. Ah eh, ah eh, ah eh, ah eh, ah eh. So the movement is really for the back to be, its back is going up and down. And so put your head up just a little bit and just try to move from the back.
Aye, 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 aye. Aye, 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 aye. Well, that last one is
Yeah, because
tough.
you're staying in head register where you would normally be in your speaking voice range. So go ahead and let it mix a little bit more toward chest.
Aye, 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 aye,
Hmm?
aye. Aye, 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 aye. Wait, should I have started that in more of a mix or a head? I was more mix and chest dominant, I think.
Yeah, no, where you were was fine. Now I want you to start on that bottom note exactly in that place and see if you can think of it as a light mix. Ah.
Ah.
Okay, so that's very heady. You can have a little bit more chest than that.
Okay.
Of speaking it.
Ah.
That's better.
Ah.
Good. Now, is that where you speak normally?
I kind of speak around here, really.
So it's not quite,
So,
okay?
I'm sorry.
It's not quite where you speak normally,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I normally speak around here.
Yeah. So this is a very small difference, Lenora. It's really tiny. But if I spent the whole day, if I were teaching all day and I spent the whole day here, I would also feel very tired at the end of the day. So that's why I try to spend the day more like that. Oh, I'm going to teach today. Okay. I don't have to go here. That's okay to exercise. But you don't want to get yourself here either, because that is why it feels ghosty, why it kind of wants to go away. Question,
Hmm.
can we calibrate that bottom to be more mix and less chest? So um, let's do nya, and we'll try to make it nya, 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 nya.
Nya, 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 nya.
Yeah, see how clear that is? It's not that smoky breathy thing. That's a good place.
Nya, 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 nya.
You can speak there for a lot longer and not be tired, but you have to think about being there.
Nya, 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 nya.
Those are wonderful.
Nya, 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 nya.
Now, on the way up, try to keep the volume the same. Don't get louder.
Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya.
So the high note there is A flat, and that's about where chest register is going to go, huh? And you have to think, oh, it means I need some more head here. Because as you rise, it
Right.
needs to get a little headier and a little headier and a little headier. And the goal is to get it to do that without cracking or flipping or getting away from you. So I'm going to take you up, and you think, oh, on the way up, I'm going to get a little lighter. And then when I go down, I'm going to get a little chestier. And the transitions are small, right? Let's do that again. Glog. Let's do a glog. Glog, 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 glog. And let your jaw move a lot.
Gla, 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 gla,
And then your
gla.
bottom note, that one was mostly head. Try to find some mix on the bottom.
Gla, 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 gla.
Now you're stuck in head. Gla.
Gla, 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 gla,
There, the
gla.
last one. That's where you want to start.
Gla, 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 gla,
Okay, so now you're in
gla.
chest. So now when you go up, be softer.
Gla, 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 gla.
With that edge. If you get loud, it's going to go to chest. If you get soft, it's going to go to head. So you really have to flirt with that in between mezzo piano and mezzo forte place. And
Okay.
it's probably not going to be all that easy to control the volume that way, but that's where you want to put your attention. Do it again.
Okay. Gla, 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 gla.
Yes, that's better. Now still take a nice breath in.
Gla, 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 gla.
Good.
Gla, 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 gla.
So now we got a pretty good balance, but there's still a little flippy argument there. Okay? So this is where we need the a vowel and we need slides. So we're going to do ah with your mouth pretty open, and the vowel sound is not, it's not real nasty, it's not ah, and it's not it's again right in the between the two. Okay? Ah. Okay, now the bottom note was a little louder than you needed it to be. Do it again.
Okay.
So loud. hmm Try to find a little more chest on the bottom. That's right. So that all that is a difference in your attention, your awareness. What we're really working on here is the registration, not the vowel sound. You
Okay.
get to the registration through the vowel sound if you can find a good place to make the vowel not too bright and not too dark. So the tongue is not
Okay.
up nor way back. Okay?
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay.
A little more speaky on the first note. That's the hardest one. That's the one you got to do. Do that again. The clear one, not
You.
the noisy one, the clear one. That's that. That's a register slide. That's right.
Mhm.
The one that's got some, the one that's got
I'm sorry.
ah is okay, not ah. It's too light.
Mhm.
Okay, one more. Okay, now, this is why when we started, I asked you, when you warm up, what are you warming up? Okay?
Mhm.
Because with a skilled vocalist like yourself, you actually need to think functionally. I got to warm up my mix. I got to get my head register strong. I got to get my head register connected to my middle voice. Then I got to find a connection to my mixy chest and make my mixy chest go across the break until that's comfortable. Because otherwise you're just singing whatever sounds come out on whatever vowels come out, and it isn't harmful, but it's not helping you. Right? So the specificity of what you're thinking, come on throat, come on, let's go throat, is really about, it's a very sophisticated control here. Because when you're controlling the pitch, the vowel, and the volume, which is what you're doing, you're controlling the length and thickness of the vocal folds and how pressed together and firm they are, which responds to how loud or soft it is, plus the shape that's going on in your mouth and your throat by how you make the vowel. And all of that is happening in response to the pitch change from the bottom to the top. So even though this is a, quote, simple exercise, it's really hard to do it well. And it's an honest thing to have it give you trouble if your voice is tired or you've been singing something and it's not, you haven't had time to fix anything. But if you're going to pull yourself back into a better place, this is also going to help you speak in the place where you're trying to do the exercise so that you don't
I
have to.
love this.
Does that make sense?
I love this. It's
Okay.
exactly what I've been working on because I've been picking things that I feel really vulnerable about and not ready to perform, but I want to, get through that place.
Right.
Um,
Right.
this
That
place right here, yes.
Middle voice is always where the mechanics are, like the things that we have to make go a certain way for the sake of function or technique. Because if you don't have that, you really either sing it below it or above it or around it, which is where I have to go a lot now. But the idea is to, if you were going to say, hello, how are you? 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 Hello, 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 how are you? I mean, when I'm doing this exercise, it's not giving me trouble, but then you walk your way through that funky place. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to sing here, and I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to go up, and it won't give you quite so much trouble, right? So let's say, let's sing, hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today?
Hello, how are you today?
That's it? No, it's good.
Hello, how are you today?
Yeah, that's all mix. It's nice, clear mix.
Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today?
Yeah, you have to move your mouth a lot. That's okay.
Hello, how are you today?
Okay. Now we could go on, but right now, that's where you want to end up, Lenore. That's like home base.
Okay,
Now, can you sing something for me?
sure. Uh, can it be a cappella or does it need to be with music?
No, it can be a cappella.
Okay, because I'm working on this song that's just a booger, but I really love it. So it's called The Peacocks.
Okay. I don't know that.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending. A flower and trees and little pathways far descending to the garden far below us. The pavilions in the sunlight where the peacocks proudly grace the scene. A vision, a timeless place, another way of living.
Stop you.
Okay,
Now, that's a tough song.
yes.
This is a very good,
I picked it on purpose.
I know, but this is a very good place to go. Da 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 da. Chest mix, chest mix, chest mix. Because now what you're doing is you're singing, it's all in head, and then when you go low, it goes down to chest. So the first thing you got to do is, what is your first note? What pitch?
C,
Okay. And the
C4.
first word is the, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to sing
The.
ah, the, and I want you to sing 3 times the, just that.
The. The. If I can go a mix or a head, where should I sing it? The.
I don't want you to sing it in head because it sounds funny in head. Ah, doesn't sound like it belongs to you. You need to sing the, right there.
The.
Right. If you don't know that you want to make that sound in that registration balance on that vowel when you come in, the whole rest of the phrase that follows it is not going to go where you want. It's kind of like once you put the bowling ball down in the alley, it's all over. You either put it down and it goes to knock out all the pins, or it goes in the gutter. So the entrance has to be in your own mind. You have to calculate da da da. Where are you going to go? Where's that going to go? Da da da. So sing the first C 3 more times on the.
The.
Okay, now what's the next word?
Windows.
Okay, so windows is a I for wi, and then O's is an O. So you're going to sing the windows and stop on wi and stop on those.
Okay. The windows.
Okay, now can you do it a little bit more? I don't want to make you sing quiet like to shut you down, but control the volume a little more.
The windows.
The windows quietly.
The wind. The wind. The windows.
Now we're going to slide.
Okay.
O on those three pitches, sliding between them.
Okay. The windows.
So no consonants, just vowel.
Oh. Okay. I.
Okay, that's the closest that you've gotten to singing that as if it were a phrase.
Okay.
Okay, now sometimes I know this isn't true just for jazz. Classical singers can be the same way. They want to get the pitches accurately, so they want to go ba ba ba. But if you can't do ba ba ba, it's very difficult to control the pitches in between, because the slide actually tells you whether that's connected or not. So in any phrase that's giving you trouble, you should be able to sing the vowels and connect the sound on the vowels, because the consonants shouldn't get in the way. So do that one more time. I, O.
I.
Okay. Now, what's the next syllable after that, after windows?
Looked.
Okay. And then what?
Looked out onto.
Okay, so you know, windows looked out, da, 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 da. It's the same thing. Da, 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 da. Even if you don't intend to sing the phrase that way, as an exercise, if you want to smooth out where the phrase goes, try it on the vowels, just big slides. Okay? So now do the whole first 5 or 6 words.
Okay. All on vowels? Okay.
Okay, so that's hard, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the first thing you want to acknowledge is it's okay for it to be really hard. But if you're going to warm up and you're going to practice and you're going to tackle the song, this is the part of the song that you have to work on, because this is what exposes how coordinated is the middle, or how not coordinated is the middle. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
one thing that would make it easier is just to do one vowel. So in this case, just do it on ah. Ah. And see if you can slide around on all the pitches.
Okay.
Okay, but when you go down, ah, make sure you go from the lighter mixie to the chestier mixie, so that bottom doesn't sound like there is no bottom. Ah. That was great. That's a conscious change in your throat. Da, 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 da. It won't do that if you don't tell it to. Because to make the change is harder. And it wants to go to the path of least resistance. And then you get ha ha ha, which doesn't make you, it doesn't fill the pitch with enough sound. Try to do what you just did on the words.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Okay, so that's better. But the ba da ba ba, slow down in the phrase so that you know where you're going.
Okay.
Sing the whole phrase slower and take a breath wherever you need.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Okay.
A flower and trees and little pathways for descending.
What's that like?
That feels better. And
Right.
especially because I told myself, oh, okay, it's okay if I struggle. I have to think about that lower note. I didn't think about that until you said that. I was always thinking about trying to keep it smooth in the mix or a heady dominant kind of a sound. Compromising the not feeling like the low note was like, oh, don't go there because you don't want to splatter. Right, is what I was thinking.
But that's a legitimate concern until and unless you don't do what we just did now before, which is we deliberately went across that mixy place and we said, come on, vocal cords, come on, throat, blend and stretch. So then when you go back and you do the song, it's not splatting so much, which is the whole point. Because the idea is that you did the functional work first, then when you went to the song, you had half a ballpark of trying to get there. Again, if you go back to something completely objective like bowling, okay, so when you're a kid, you put the ball down and it goes in the gutter. But along the way, somebody maybe says, hey, don't bend your wrist or don't crook your elbow or whatever. And after a while, the ball goes down, you hit 1 or 2 pins. And then you keep going and somebody tells you more things. And then after a while, the professionals, they put the ball down every time and it goes down and it blasts into the pins and mostly they knock them over. So here, this is a way for us to take a look at, before you put the ball down on the alley, where's your elbow? Where's your arm? Where's your feet? How much did you walk? How did you slide? Where was your weight? How far did you put your arm behind you? How much weight did you put on the ball when you put it on the alley? Because you already can sing really well. So this is not about the singing or what you want to do with the song. This is about, hey, throat, are you going to go here or not? And some of it is just plain hard, and it's okay for it to be hard. I mean, if it wasn't hard, everybody would sound like Ella Fitzgerald on day 2, and I wouldn't have a job, and neither would you. So, allow yourself to think, no, I got to do this. So let's go back and do the exercise again. And
Do you need 5 minutes?
thank you, Billy. Let's do ah and ah, but now we're going to keep the ah on the mixy side and warmer. So ah and not ah, right? Ah, middle of the road volume, back and forth as smoothly as you can. That's good. Now, make sure you really hear yourself slide and take your time with the slide. Don't rush.
Okay.
No, that's a little hard. It's better.
I, I had gunk there.
Yeah, well, that happens. Okay, so that first note could be a little bit more open. So think of ah, like you were surprised about something.
Okay.
One more. I know it's giving you a little bit of trouble, but you're okay. Go on. Good. I know that that's not easy and it's not fun, but that is exactly what you need to practice because it'll get easier when you practice it. Do it again. Yeah, good. Now, Lenore, say the words for me.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Okay, so now we're going to deliberately say a little bit higher. The windows looked out onto a pattern. Okay, say it higher in pitch. Not a lot higher, just a little.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Okay, now if I had a magic wand and I could make you sing in that particular place for this song, I would do it because that's right down the middle of everything. So say it again and try it then after you've spoken it to sing it, the same place you just spoke it.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Okay, here's your
The windows. That's higher than I was speaking, isn't it?
it's fine, it's close enough.
The windows looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Hey! I bet if you could see all these people, they'd all be cheering. They would.
Yeah, but that was the same key.
It was the same key. I didn't change the key.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So you see, this allowed you to sing, first of all, to sing the song with more colors because those are two different shades of color. And the song is sort of written to make you do that. And even though it gave you a little trouble as you went up, it didn't break. It didn't actually crack. And after you did it a few times, 3, 4 times, it's already better.
Yes, thank you. And the bridge is worse.
Oh,
I mean, in terms of the intervals, it's
I know. I didn't realize
it's a monster.
the song, but I have heard it before. But you know, I've been reading this book about the mind. It's called Mind Sight. And this is a psychiatrist who's done a lot of research with the patterns in the brain.
Okay.
And, he was talking about, well, I mean, there's so many things in there that just are mind-blowing, but helpful because in addition to changing what you're doing in the patterns of your throat that are not overly conscious, in other words, I can't think of any really experienced good singer who deliberately wants to have a splat or a crack or a noise. I mean, we don't like that. So we unconsciously we don't go there because we think, well, that's not going to help or that's wrong. And in point of fact, sometimes you have to go right through that so that you can break the pattern both in your throat and in your brain because there is a neurological pattern between the part of the brain that controls the kinesiology of muscle movement and all the behaviors that we're working on in the throat. And the first order of business is to sing something that's not what you usually sing. So that breaks the pattern. And then to repeat it so that it's functioning comfortably. And then the brain can start to notice, oh, where is that anyway? Where is that? And try to make a marker for what you're doing. Because then, if you have some idea of, okay, that's this sound, and then you go there, all you have to do is repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, and then you sort of go to sing the song and it's easier. Okay? Now, the point is that you need possibly to have some outside ears. In this case, they happen to be mine, but they could be somebody else's, who understands the function to give you a suggestion that's meaningful, a useful suggestion. And I mean, you know, I could have said to you, well, why don't you think of a river flowing? And, you know, I know you can do that, but solve the technical problems for a long time. So why don't you fool around with this, and then you can check in with us later on down the road and let us know how you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. You have such a beautiful voice and you're such a beautiful soul. We want your throat to do what you want it to do, so we just have to make an arrangement.
Yes, thank you, Jeannie. You're brilliant.
Thank you, Lenore. Thank you so much. All right.
All right. Thank you, Lenora. Next, Eugenie will be working with Early. Early, I'm going to unmute you.
Early. How about that?
And Early, you might just have to accept it might say like, oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderfully. Thank you.
Nice.
Early?
Okay.
Long time
Yes.
no see.
I know. I know. 2018. I just looked.
Wow. All right. Now I have
Like December or
you're
go
sort
ahead.
of in the dark. Is there any way you could light yourself a little more?
Yep. Let's see. Is that better? Or let me see if I can move.
You need to have the light in front of you rather
Yeah.
than behind you.
My apartment's not light. That's the thing. Is that better? Or
That's a little better. Yeah, I can because I need to be able to see your face. All right. So now, talk to me about where you are vocally now.
well, really nowhere right now, the pandemic, but I do I sing a little bit um on Fridays outside. But I've been finding, as I've kind of gone back through like our lessons, still going into my falsetto, it's difficult. It's difficult to do to kind of move in between the registers.
Yep.
And that's really, so like I chose a song to sing for you because I chose to sing it at a higher key because it's more difficult. But I like the key, but I want to navigate through it,
Okay.
especially in the bridge. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did you warm up at all today?
A little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I just finished working, so don't remember I'm a hairdresser.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
Uh. Okay. So just as a teaching moment for not just for you, for everybody. The register changes in general are facilitated by the flexibility of the thyroid cartilage on top of the cricoid cartilage in your throat. The vocal cords are in the thyroid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage is like this. And when you go into head register, it tilts because the cricoid muscle under here pulls it down and it touches the cricoid underneath. So this is the thyroid movement. It rocks back and forth. It's a rotation. And then inside, where the vocal cords are, they lengthen and stretch. Now, the muscles around here, there's three sets of constrictor muscles. And the middle constrictors, they're all wrapped around the outside, are part of how much the mechanism can move. But what's in here in the front is the base of the tongue. So sliding through registration has a lot to do with how neutral and flexible your tongue is underneath in the front and how movable it is in the back. That's why we do that on the straw and the inside. And also why there's the whole business of, let your jaw go, let your tongue relax. Because if the inside stuff is going to go smoothly, all of this has to be able to go in that sort of wave-like motion. And none of these muscles here are the muscles that you would move deliberately. You can move this deliberately. You can go up and down, and that's not hard. And you can move the lips, blah, 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 blah. But how do you move the base of the tongue and the back of the tongue up and down in your throat? And the answer is basically you don't. So cultivating a response in that way is always going to be indirect at best. So that's why we have corks, we have straws, we have all kinds of head things and tongue things to coax your mechanism to do stuff that it has on a normal everyday basis no reason to do. But the more you have that, the likely is if you have a head register or if you have a chest register, you're going to be able to go from one to the other without too much of an abrupt change. If the larynx is parked and doesn't move, you'll get a crack.
Yes,
And so that's not
that's
usually
what happens.
unless you're yodeling, and sometimes that's what we do too. So early, why don't you just sing for me a not too loud E? E at a moderate volume. Good. Now, while you do this, think that your jaw is relaxed and hanging, and your tongue is relaxed and hanging, and it's making this E shape in the front, but loosely. Okay? That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. One more. Okay. Now, that sounds pretty comfortable to me. How does it feel to you?
That last one, I felt the anxiety happening. That's the last one.
Okay.
Like I felt like maybe a crunch was going to happen on the next one. Yeah.
So this is a place in here where a lot of anxiety is going to show up.
Yep.
Is it not just in you, in everybody. So you have to tolerate the feeling of
Yeah.
try to breathe through it. Just breathe, breathe. Okay, so the worst that can happen is it'll crack or it'll come apart or it'll sound bad, and you just have to let that go, okay? Because the anxiety is caused by the fact that you're letting go inside, and everybody has that. We all have that place inside where we slightly hang on that we don't intend to hang on, but we do, okay? From my side of the things, from listening, I thought it was fine, so do it again. It's going to crack. Let's go back down.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, now try to sing eh like in hen, but very loosely. Hen, hen.
Hand.
That's fine. And take your time when you breathe in. One more. Okay, good. All right. Now, let me hear your falsetto on ooh. Good. Now you might have to make these a little louder as you go up. That
Yes.
okay. And open your mouth a little as you go higher. So that high note is tight. Do you feel
Yeah,
that?
it is. Yeah.
So for the moment, just tolerate that. We'll just do
Yeah.
one. Let it be tight. It's okay. Okay. So that wasn't as bad. So now those last two I could hardly hear. Billy, does that have anything to do with his settings on his computer or me?
Yeah, it's probably just has to do with the fact that he's on a phone and we can't fully configure the settings. But if you're a tiny little bit louder, it might make it better.
Okay. Should I go? I'm
Also,
in my
Jeannie needs to
earphones.
lift her hand off of the keyboard quicker instead of holding the notes down.
Okay. That's it. Now I can hear you. That's good. It's all right. I'm going to assume it's okay. Go on. One more. Okay, good. So now I'm going to use this as another teaching opportunity early. So if you're working, teachers, if you're working with a man in falsetto or what their head voice is, and you run into some place that we like this where it's tight, it's okay to let it be tight for 2 or 3 notes. It's not going to kill the person. Sometimes the response is tight because it's far away from the normal use of the male adult voice. And it's just like anything else. If I put you on the floor and twisted you into some place that you don't normally go through during the day, you'd feel tight too. So you have to allow yourself to kind of breathe into the tension and then come away from it. Now, in this kind of pitch range, in a certain way, you have to engage the breath enough to kind of blow through the tube, and that means that you have to make it a little louder. And sometimes it makes it easier, but not always. So you shouldn't immediately panic if you hear something that you think, "Ooh, that's so tight." Yeah, it's tight. It's okay. I mean, I'm doing physical therapy for my hip replacement, and some of it's pretty funky, but I got to do it because it comes with the territory, right? So it's the same way to think of this. So early falsetto seems okay, and everything can always get better. So now, if we're going to work on transitioning from low to high without too much of a break, we're going to try to work on that tongue, right? Because everything is the back here. So early, before you sing, just do a little self-massage under your jaw right here. And just think of this stuff here. This is the base of your tongue. And other muscles there, there's a whole bunch of different ones. Just think of them being soft, like unbaked bread dough.
Yeah.
Okay, and you just want to go right up to underneath your jaw, your chin, and this whole area. Just gently massage it. And while you're massaging it, think, bread dough, bread dough, bread dough. Squishy wishy, okay? All right? Now, with your head slightly up, let your tongue just flatten out on the floor of your mouth. And don't do anything with it. Just leave it alone and let it rest on the floor of your mouth. And just exhale. Ah.
Oh.
So do that a couple more times.
Oh.
One more.
Oh.
Now we'll go the other way. Ah. From low to high.
Oh.
Again.
Oh.
Okay. So now let's see if you can go all the way up and cross into what would be falsetto. Ah. And let everything inside move which way it wants. Okay.
Oh.
That's nice. Do that again.
Oh.
Good. Again.
Oh.
Okay. So you are in those going from chest to falsetto pretty smoothly. Could you tell?
Yeah, I think Phil, the third one, there was a catch, but the first two seemed pretty smooth.
Okay. So the reason you were able to kind of glide up was first because we glided down. That's a little easier for the throat. And then when you glided up, there was still some muscle memory of that more relaxed feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can experiment with doing down and then up if you want to bring some of that head register down. So let's do just from up and down. And if it kicks or it cracks, it's okay.
Okay. Ha.
Okay. That was pretty smooth. What was that like?
It felt smooth. It did. I felt a little pushed, but
Yeah, but not
just
too.
the first time doing it.
Yeah. So this is an exercise that will help your throat figure out how do you go from one place to the other. And we're not
Yeah.
asking too much of the throat. We're not putting in consonants and vowels and words. We're just
Yeah.
getting to the position changes inside. And they are position changes. They're two different positions. And you're gliding out of one and into the other and then back down again. And inside, it's going to do that movement. Okay? Now, classical people, you think the larynx is always low and it doesn't move. Uh-uh. Unless you only have low notes. Because if you want high notes, it's going to have to move. And you're going to have to let it move. Not a lot, but if it doesn't move, you can't sing soft and you can't sing high. So the idea that your larynx is always down low, deliberately down low, is wrong. If it's comfortable, it'll rest in a low position until it needs to move, and then it will move a lot. Okay? Jazz people generally, they have a lot of movement and actually are quite facile. If you saw the inside of somebody's throat when they were going beep, 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 it's moving a lot. And please don't be offended by my crappy examples at scatting. I can't. I love the people who can do it because it's so hard and they do it so well. But give me the grace to do bad examples because I'm trying to make a point about the function, not the music. So now, early, to take advantage of what was just go back to the glogle, but with the idea that the movement is in the back. And let's do glogle, 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 glogle. But on the sort of overly relaxed side of things, like, oh,
Okay.
okay? Not too crisp and clear.
In falsetto or
Oh, go down to your chest register, but just stay soft.
okay. So it's glogle, 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 glog.
Just do those. That's great.
Glogle, 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 glog.
Nice.
Glogle, 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 glog.
That's making a nice change. Good.
Glogle, 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 glog.
Do you still feel the same amount of anxiety on those high notes?
No, not
Good.
as much.
Yeah, it went away a little bit because it's looser.
Yeah. Glogle, 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 glog.
Excellent. Tell your throat everything can move. Everything inside can move.
Glogle, 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 glog.
Go ahead and make your gla a little more deliberately happy. Glogle, glogle.
Glogle, 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 glog.
Because now we need to give your throat a little more help to get a better vowel on the way up. Okay?
Glogle, 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 glog.
Good. Now, start your bottom note as heady as you can. Glogle, like just what I just did with Lenora.
Yep. Glogle, 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 glog. Whoa.
Crack. It does. It's okay.
Glogle, 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 glog.
Now,
Ooh.
if you were having a regular lesson, I would spend much more time on this particular behavior because you're doing it very well, but it's an unfamiliar positioning in your throat, and we would need to just be patient and wait for the bus and coax it and coax
Yeah.
it and coax it. And then the anxiety would go down and the movement would get more familiar and get easier, and you'd be able to get more out of your high notes. But the transition in the middle is not terrible. It's pretty good. So I'm curious to hear what happens if you do the song. So can you do the song for me?
Yes. It happens in the bridge. Do you want to I'm actually having a lesson after this, so I actually have somebody here
Oh,
who's
okay.
gonna play. 1, 2, boom, boom. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. insert. Learning natural entrance. If I could write a book for you that would bring fame and fortune too, that book would be like my heart and me, dedicated to you. And if I could paint one picture too that showed the loveliness of you, my art would be like my heart and me, dedicated to you, right here, to you, because your love is the beacon that lights up my way. Just you, because with you I know this lifetime could be just one heavenly dream. And if I could
Okay. All right.
find one twinkling star.
Good. You're right.
That's
It's
it.
hard.
Yes,
So-
yes.
Okay. So if you're going to take this song apart just for vocal purposes, you have to do the first thing that I say to everybody is, what are the words? What are the vowel sounds in the words? What pitches are you singing those vowels on without the improv? So,
Yes.
straight melody like it's on the lead sheet. And then you got to take a look at where those vowels fall on the pitch
Yeah.
pitch parameters you're in. So when you went into the bridge, the first word you sustained was an ooh, right?
Yes. To you.
Yeah, your throat's going to go over to head register on an ooh vowel up that high. So you have a couple choices. One is you can start with your mouth more open, and then you have to sing toe, toe, and not two.
Yeah.
Or you can get the phrase below it to be a little lighter. Now, this is hard because the sound that you're making is nice. I mean, it's a really pretty, warm sound, and it's expressive. And I'm basically saying, yeah, good. I'm glad you could do that. And so now don't do that.
Right.
Saying, you have to make a different sound than that if you're going to get through the middle and not have it crack. So,
Can I ask you something?
sure.
I feel like I'm doing too much. I feel like I'm doing too much work in this key, but I like the key, so I want to have to do as much work.
I understand that, but the long-term goal would be you wouldn't have to do so much work.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes.
In the
Yeah.
short term, if you were going to sing this and survive, you literally are going to have to sing the song like this. If you
Yeah.
don't do that, it won't hold together. And
Yeah.
I mean, ideally speaking, it wouldn't be as so exaggerated that it would be ridiculous. But there are times when you're really gonna sing up high. You gotta open your mouth.
Yes.
In normal life, we don't do that. And a lot of singing, people don't want to do that. They think they look funny. Well, either you want to sing well or you want to care how you look. You have to choose what's good for the throat.
Okay.
And ultimately, when the whole thing gets homogenized, yeah, probably then you wouldn't have to make quite so much work, do so much work. But then your bottom and your middle would have to be heavier all the way across the board. So this is another factor. Like, I had this woman who worked with me because she wanted to learn technique and all this, and she was coming all the way from, I don't know, Virginia to have lessons. And every time she came, it was just like about once every 5-6 weeks, I would take her through the same stuff, and I'd get the middle to be mixed, and it would be balanced, and then she'd come back, and she'd have a chest and a hole and then head. So I finally said to her, like after about the 6th lesson, so this is going to be the 6th time I've done the same stuff with you. What are you doing when you go home? Well, I do the exercises. I said, no, what are you doing when you sing? Oh, in the world? I said, yeah, out when you go do a gig or something. Well, I just sing in chest. Oh, and why did you do that? Well, I like my chest register. I said, okay, that's fine. But what are you singing with the mixy sound that you do here with me? You mean in music? I said, yeah, in music. Oh, I don't do that. So I said, so why are you spending your enormous amount of energy to come from Virginia and pay me for my lesson when that's actually not something you want to use? And she looked at me and I said, the point of doing the exercises is to use them in music. And that means you're going to have to sing your chest register headier. So this is a place where in the long term, early, your middle voice might be lighter than it is now. And you kind of have to go through the two processes of getting used
Okay.
to it physically and also getting used to it orally in your ear.
Okay.
And then what you do by doing that is you trade a little bit the chestiness in the bottom part for the flexibility to go back and forth in that higher place that you want to get to without so much work.
Yes.
So right
Yes.
now, I want to just do, do you think you can do the melody on ya, ya, ya?
Yes. Just on the bridge.
Yeah, let's just do the bridge.
That's the hardest. Yeah.
And just, I want you to sing it at a moderate volume, okay?
Yes. Ya 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 ya
Stop. What was,
yeah.
what was that like?
It was nice. It was, but I felt comfortable.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
was I supposed to stay in my falsetto
No,
doing the whole thing or?
I wanted you to
Oh,
stay right where you were and see if it would work, and it did.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Felt more comfortable.
Yeah. So again, if I had a magic wand, then I'd say, well, sing the whole song in the same place you just were. You know,
Yes, yes. It felt even.
correct.
That's what it felt. Yes.
Little teeny bit, you're holding your breath.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
Ooh.
now that's another thing that's a habit to take a breath and sing.
Hmm.
See if you can imagine as you start on your first phrase, every time you come in with a little bit of an exhale, even if the sound is breathy. Da, 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 dee, da, 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 dee. So it's a little bit on the breathy side because otherwise you go da, 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 dee, da, 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 da.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
gets caught a little bit
Tight,
because you're holding
tight.
your,
Yes.
okay? But in every
Hmm.
other way it was better. So can you sing it again on
Hmm.
the bridge?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Early.
yeah, yeah,
I want you to do this. I
yes,
don't know the song, so I can't sing it, but whatever the notes are. Da 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 da
yeah, yeah, okay, okay,
da 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 da.
okay. Oh, breathe.
Stop.
Oh, okay,
Exhale what's left. Inhale. Sing the next phrase.
yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
That
that was
different.
weird. Yeah, it was strange just to put a breath in that place was a little weird, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're a little bit in the habit of breathe in and sing. Breathe in and sing. So that
Yes.
makes a right angle. Breathe in and sing. And I'm
Yeah.
asking you to make a curve. Breathe in and kind of start to exhale and then sing. Breathe
Oh,
in and kind of start to exhale and then sing.
got it.
Okay? And so
Yes.
forcing you to exhale makes it possible for you to inhale. But if you inhale quickly, then you also get in your own pattern, the old pattern. So make yourself inhale as if you had all day. So you're going out of time in the song.
Okay.
Okay, now that's a device. That's not that you have to sing the song or end up singing everything that way. But this is
Yes.
to counterbalance the habit that you have of slightly holding the breath in. And we get the idea that if we're going to control the phrase, we kind of hold on to the breath and let it out in a little stingy amount. But what that actually does is you hold on to your throat to control the sound
Yes.
without meaning to. So you have to, again, it's the anxiety place. You have to run the risk of running out of breath while you're singing. But if it's just a practice session, it's just an exercise. So you run out, you take another breath.
Yes. Yes.
Better than holding the breath, because then you're holding the sound, you're holding the breath inside like that. Oh, I'm holding my breath so I can sing the phrase.
Yes.
Some people actually teach that. They teach breath retention. But that only works if you're singing, if your own singing naturally is breathy, which yours is not. Okay, then it's a compensation for that.
Yeah.
Do you need 2 minutes?
Thank you, Billy. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Earl.
it's a different way. It's a different way of it's a totally different way of thinking when I am singing. Absolutely. It's just to get more conscious of what I'm doing. So I appreciate that.
Yes. You actually, when it finally gets all the way around, you can actually sing the phrases better when you're allowing the breath to go out with the sound, because you'll intuitively start to feel how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
And you're much less likely to run out of breath that way than if you were doing something where you're deliberately trying to hold it in. And that's a coordination behavior. So the other thing is, in this moment when you're in the higher pitches, go ahead and overdo the pronunciation of everything and move everything you can.
Okay.
We're going to finish up, but do this bridge one more time. You can go back to doing it normally, but try to take your breaths in as if you had a little more time to inhale, and wait for your body to exhale and the phrase to begin. Okay?
With the ya or with the words?
Words.
Use the words. Okay.
Yeah.
To you, because your love is the beacon that lights up my way. To you, because with you I know a lifetime could be just one heavenly dream. Oh my gosh. It's wild having to try to think while you're doing that.
It
It's
is.
fun. Yeah, it's wild. It's gonna have to practice.
Yeah. Well, you can work on the things that we talked about here.
Yes, because holding on, so holding on, how I was doing, I felt more in control. Doing this, I feel out of control. So it's like,
Yeah,
yes,
it is. You're out of control, and that also
yes,
raises the anxiety level. But in order to sing freely, you have to pass through that place.
totally.
And then after a while, the anxiety comes down, and the ability to breathe comes more comfortably.
Yeah,
And it really, this is not about your sound. You sound great, and your musical expression is nice. This is all about mechanical function and actually getting your throat to be a little bit more on the tenor side than on the baritone side. But this will take more time,
hmm yes,
So,
absolutely.
so
I wish I could run. I wish I could run back up to the Upper West Side now, but in due time.
I'm not teaching at the moment. My hip is not ready for me to.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much, everybody.
thank you so much.
Virtual applause here. Thank you.
And
All right, Billy, we must have some questions.
All right, we've got lots of questions. So the first question was, Jeannie, would you recommend teaching at times during the day using head register, or all registers really, especially on long teaching days to make it easier for your voice?
I would say that if you can warm up, you warm up your whole voice, but you warm up your head register quite a bit before you teach, whenever in the day that is. If it's afternoon or evening, morning, you still want to warm up your voice up. Get up there before you do. And then you want to think of, oh, can I talk here? Can I talk in my high mix? My chesty mix has to be nice and light, because that will help you get through the day. I had a few instances where I had to teach while I was sick, and I just told everybody ahead of time, excuse me, I have a cold, my voice is a little bit tired, so I'm going to spend the whole day teaching like this. And I know I'm going to sound strange, but I'll be okay here. And of course, I'm a soprano, so it worked. I'm not suggesting you do that, except that I knew that that was a way for me not to lose my voice, and I didn't. So this depends on how cultivated your own registration is, and to have a good balance, and then go from there. Okay, what else, Billy?
Great. The next question is, how might we work an exercise like the tongue stretch over the pencil with someone who has tongue tie and therefore finds straws very uncomfortable?
That's a very difficult thing. What you should do with those people is not use the straw, but ask them to put their tongue as comfortably as possible on their lower lip where they can see it. And if they can't quite reach their lower lip, then just have them rest it like on their teeth. Let them see if they can go just a little bit further with the tongue in a more neutral position. Okay. And if that's as far as they can go, then that's enough. And you're going to have to work with that. And then you can try to do the other things, the gla and the gla and all that will be restricted in the response, that because it depends on how much the what's it called, the frenulum? No, is that right? Anyway, the little piece, how short it is, and how much that's affecting the rest of the tongue in terms of its mobility. All of these exercises are always modifiable. So if they can't do what we're doing, you try to find out what they can do, and you explain that the purpose is to help stretch. The other exercise is very good for people that have that little tongue tie, is to see if they can get the tip of their tongue up to the roof of their mouth like this. And that stretches this. Now, a trained singer can usually go pretty far. In other words, bring the jaw down and still keep the tip of the tongue behind the bottom, the upper teeth. And that's not comfortable for me. Right? But you don't start like that. So that's the other exercise. You see if the person can lift the tongue in the front and then drop the jaw, however much they can do it. And just be, massaging and gentle. That's probably the best that you can do until they maybe go and have it surgically adjusted, and then it makes things a lot easier.
That's great. The next question is, should the glides be able to switch back and forth between head and chest, not abruptly but smoothly and naturally as it wants to?
The purpose of the slides is to create that, to create a smooth transition from one register to the other register without any arguments in the throat. But you don't start that way. I mean, if the person has no register issues, then that exercise is not difficult. But if you're going to deliberately cultivate a little more chest and a little more head as you develop the voice, you want to make sure that that's always balanced. And the slide exercise is meant to help the two registers come together, because you have to adjust the volume, the vowel position or shape, the tongue position, and the pitches.
Great. I have a question about focus and practice. When doing functional training, what kind of immediate feedback is helpful for vocalists? Can you give examples of appropriate immediate feedback that you would give when doing functional training and repertoire?
Well, yeah, you have to start with big, bold strokes first. So if you're working with someone who is new to training, has never had a lot of formal training, or comes from a different point of view in their training, the first feedback you have to give is how much is the person in head or in chest or in mix, and until they can calibrate that for themselves and hear and feel what is that. because that is control over, as I said, the laryngeal function. Along the way, you're going to pay attention to not only what vowel, but what kind of vowel. So not just an ah or an e or an o, but what kind of an ah, what kind of an e, what kind of an o, because the amount of variability in how you make the vowel sound can help or hinder what you do with the register quality. They're independent, but again, they work together over time. And then the third thing that you pay attention to is posture and breathing. And you have to look at inhalation patterns and exhalation patterns. So not just, breathe in and use support. That was okay 100 years ago. But you have to look at what are the ribs doing? What's the posture look like? What's moving when this person breathes in? How long do they take to inhale? When they exhale, are they starting with an exhale or are they holding their breath? How much mobility do you see in the physical body, and how does that relate to what the sound is? So in terms of feedback, that's the feedback you want to give first. And then when you get that, then you can get a little more fussy about the details. So how loud is loud, and how open an ah is the ah, and is it smiley and bright or not? There you can embellish the details, and then you can go lower and higher and louder and softer, trying to keep all of those ingredients balanced. And that takes time. Okay?
That's great. And can Jeannie explain why she alternated between the two vowels a and ah at the end when you were sliding with Lenora?
Well, because the vowel sound changes are going to change the tongue position. And to go, a is a middle vowel. It's right in the middle of the vowel chart. And ah is the more open of the two. So you want to set the middle range, middle pitches and middle register tends to be more likely to show up on an a or an eh. And then you slide over to the ah because you want the ah to come in closer to that middle place. And those tongue movements are intuitive as your ear gets used to the vowel sound. And then that also encourages a smoother glide between the transition in the tongue from one vowel to another.
Great. The next question is, how much should we keep in mind the voice default of a student when working with various stylistic parameters? I'm afraid I might steer my students' voices too much towards the default of the music and might making them too chesty on the bottom pitches.
Well, that's a fair assessment of a legitimate issue. You might. It's impossible not to teach from your own frame of reference. And so if you're young and you don't have a lot of frame of reference, either in terms of training or life experience, in order to have integrity, you're going to have to teach from what you know and what you've experienced in yourself. As you get older and you have more experience seeing different kinds of singers or in different circumstances, or you go to more workshops, or you read more books, and you get to realize everybody's not like you, then you can adjust what you're doing more to this individual person's voice in front of you and where they are, where they want to go to, and what they want to sing. That's very complicated and sophisticated behavior. But it doesn't take a whole, 20 lifetimes to figure it out. That's what somatic voice work is to help you with. It's to shorten the amount of time it takes to get those answers, so that, not everybody is a lyric soprano who sings classical and music theater, me. But that is where I started teaching from, because that's what I was and that's what I knew. But over time, as I worked with all kinds of voices and all kinds of pitch ranges and all kinds of ages, and then I went to all the workshops and learned the science, I began to understand what's reasonable for a bass or a baritone or a tenor, and what's reasonable for a tenor who wants to sing music theater versus a tenor who wants to sing jazz. Those are the nuances of your teaching work that come over time, and then you probably won't tend to make your students slightly more chesty than they probably should be. But to be fair to yourself, if you understand that that's a possibility, Just watch out, be careful, don't overdo that, and keep checking in to make sure that you have a good balance between the two. And if you're young and you realize, oh, gee, I didn't realize I was doing that, unless your student ended up bleeding on the floor or the larynx came popping out of their nose, you're probably fine. Give yourself a little bit of room to make a few honest mistakes. You can always say to the student, I'm not sure that this will work, or I'm pretty comfortable having you do this, but you can tell me if it's not comfortable, or you can let me know if it's not working for you. That way it won't hurt anybody. And that's all you can ask. Do no harm. Okay?
That's great. We probably have time for one or two more questions. Can Jeannie talk about the difference between falsetto and head voice in a baritone or male voice?
Okay, so for those of you that are interested in voice science, this question comes up a lot. And so I went to our American voice scientist, Dr. Ingo Tietze, and I asked him, is there a difference in the male falsetto or male head register than there is in the woman's voice? And the answer was no. At the level of the vocal folds, you're either on the upper edges, which is head register, or you're not. And the pitch range is going to be different because obviously a bass is very low and a soprano is very high. So the middle pitches where those transitions happen may fluctuate a little bit, give or take a third, minor third. But the behavior, once you get it, if you looked at the larynx, is the same. Head register is head register, is head register, is head register, and the vocal fold behavior is the same. Now, in pedagogy, especially classical pedagogy, there's all kinds of discussion about reinforced head and, various different kinds of things between voix blanche and voix mixte, and this is not head voice, it's something else. Don't get caught up in those pedagogical arguments. Look at the vocal folds and go for the function. And trust that Dr. Tietze, who has a stellar career as a voice science researcher and has a wonderful program called Vocology, that he's not making up stuff that's wrong. You don't have to take my word for it. Take his word for it. Okay?
Jeannie, that's great. I think we should probably wrap up there, and we'll carry over the last couple questions to next week.
Okay.
But thank you so much to Lenora and Early for joining us today.
Absolutely. And everybody, even if you're watching this after the fact, you're going to see it tomorrow or something. If you do have questions, or even if you have some specific thing you want me to address, send them to Billy gallnermusic@gmail.com, and he will put them into the hopper for future reference. And we're happy to hear from you. And I'm trying to be as helpful and practical as possible, both to the people who are singing and also to you. We are appreciative of any of your questions that you want to send. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of your evening or day, wherever you are, and enjoy yourself. And next week, same time, same station, I will see you then. Thank you, Billy, for your help. Bye.